Hey everybody, live again, another Thursday, another Patriot Lament video podcast. This week we're doing number 2 in our technology series, proving that it is a series and not just a single video. We have and we have Mr. Jake McQueen joining us as well, and he's going to be talking to us about opinions and thoughts on social media today. So this is like, the platforms that are emerging and evolving, issues around censorship, and kind of the data mining that's happening, and the shift from these companies being sort of independent to being kind of semi-state actors. Do you want to give a little intro about the Damn Woods and everything you're up to, Jake?
Sure. I'm one of the two loudmouths on the Damn Woods, damnwoods.com. You can buy shirts. You can listen to our show. We have a YouTube channel. It's all under the same brand. We do music, movies, conspiracy theories, video games, whatever, podcasts and stuff like that. If we're not very serious. We both hate cops. That's kind of our deal.
That works. You've been a guest on a few other shows as well.
Yeah.
Let's see, Fagcast is one of them, right?
Friends Against Government. They are great friends of the show. They're hilarious guys. Shout out to Bird and Carr. They actually had a successful ANCAP, libertarian, adjacent, etc. meetup this year with Childerberg.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and they've already got plans and stuff for Childerberg too next year. So shout out to those guys being successful and good at their various jobs. The guys from Tasting Anarchy are involved. That's a politics and wine podcast, which hey, not my thing, but all right.
Well, it's better than politics and libraries.
Man, that's fair. Super fair.
Shout out to Michael Dukes.
Yes.
Michael Dukes still alive somehow. Keeping the hookers on 2 Street employed.
So to start things off, I wanted to. You've been kind of more on the social media scene than anybody watching this probably. What's been your experience with these platforms as they've emerged? Like you were super active on Twitter when it first came out. And I think you got the most people to block you of anyone on Twitter at some point.
No, God, no, I am not that active, not yet. But
what was the communication like where you can interact? There are these people who are a big deal supposedly, and you can interact with them basically directly through this thing.
It is. It is an interesting thing. So Twitter has a thing where they verify people to give them the blue check mark. And it lets you engage with people who are otherwise quote unquote relatively important on a normal person to person basis. And it turns out a lot of those people aren't used to being called a fuckhead or something like that. You know what I mean? So Twitter eventually gave them further tools to report and, block people and whatever, which is fine. It's just one of those things where it's Twitter especially is kind of a hilarious company in and of itself because they are poorly run and they are also kind of they're not even really good at being social media cops. They're just ineffective cops. And it's fun to watch until your account gets banned 15 times in a row because someone searched your past post for an out of context joke about suicide, and then they report that en masse. Basically, it's this thing. So it's the way Twitter's content moderation works is mass flagging. Is 100 people report one post, and their bots automatically ban it or suspend it for a day until you give them a phone number, which is, data collection. Anyway.
What did you think of the Matt Dorsey, Joe Rogan interview? Did you watch that?
I did not. I actually don't know who Matt Dorsey is.
He's the Twitter guy.
Oh yeah, Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey. Yeah, there you go. Whatever.
I did not watch that. I kind of don't like Jack is a weird. He seems like a cartoon of a person. Like he's like, you know, when like conservative Facebook people like have this like built up image of what the dreaded liberal is. Like Jack Dorsey lives all that stuff. It's super wild. He is. I've not. So I assume from being on Rogan, he probably just said we don't ban anyone for any any specific political groups or whatever, which is I don't know. I have a lot of associates on all varieties of like the fringe, just kind of weirdos. So and I've seen them get banned pretty routinely, just like no matter what like team they play for ideologically. So that's kind of neat. But like artists get nailed a lot. It's weird. It's just a poorly run platform. Not to mention the whole like if you're remotely critical of the Saudis, they get a little weird.
Oh, right, they are Saudi owned, aren't they?
Yeah. Like 60%.
Yeah, Danny McAdams. Danny McAdams from the Ron Paul Institute has been banned for several weeks at a time. It was always after some kind of either criticizing the Saudis or a anti-war rant, and then you're gone for a while.
Yeah, it is wild. Like I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of like once corporations reach like the state level actor thing, it's just like I have no reason to trust you any more than I have reason to trust the American government or the Chinese government or the anyone. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, his
or the Russians.
His thing on Rogan was he came on, and Tim Pool was on.
Oh no!
Yeah, and Tim Pool had a big stack of papers, and he's like, "What about this?" And Dorsey's like, "I don't know, I'd have to review it. What about this? I don't know, I'd have to review it. What about this? I don't know, I'd have to review it." And he's like, "Okay, this last story that you said you'd never heard of, this was front page. This was on the front page of this newspaper, this website. Here's the news organizations that covered it. You run this company and you don't know about this? Am I supposed to believe you that you're that ignorant or that you're incompetent? Which one is it supposed to be?" And his attorney was there as well, and he was just like, anytime he would get pinned or whatever, he would just like turn and throw it at his attorney. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like, I will say this: anytime like a CEO of a social media company has to deal with a particularly obnoxious user in person, I am happy. Like subjecting Jack Dorsey to Tim Pool is like, I would say maybe like a universal good.
Well, it was definitely entertaining, and Tim Pool wasn't the most. He wasn't the most composed, but he wasn't as to the degree that he was aggressive and a little bit, over the top. Right. Dorsey was way more ignorant of the entire situation. It was interesting to watch. Yeah,
it's got to be. It's got to be wild being like these dudes who are like, the figurehead, like whether they're figureheads or they're they're hands-on or whatever. It's got to be wild being these dudes in an era where the state is like trying to control more and more and more, and like there's already a certain amount of it in every social media company. We all kind of know that. So like it's got to be kind of nuts, like seeing them or being these dudes and like having to go on a Joe Rogan's podcast of all things and be like, here's my lawyer. He's going to hit me if I say something stupid.
That's right. Yeah.
Like say yes.
Yeah, well, like it's interesting trying to figure out. Like an interesting thing with Twitter is they haven't been monetized. They haven't actually made any money yet, right?
Not that I know of. I mean, the money is coming from somewhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like whether that's funding or ad revenue. Because like they've got ads. It's just not like if you've got a competent ad blocker, you never see them.
Right.
So I don't know. Like they have not been doing well. I know that.
No, and well, it's hard to figure out what their product is,
Yep.
and it's hard to figure out where they're getting money from. And
Yes.
so when they appear to be operating outside of the whole market incentive thing.
Trying to, at least, right? I mean, that's what happens when you've got if you've got backing that prevents you from having to deal with market incentives, whether that's Saudi or American government or whatever, or just maybe there's some angel investor who's given Twitter a complete dick house of money. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say of the bigger companies, like the tech giants, I guess, Twitter is, I'd say, most likely to just be like ineptly run and evil, whereas Google is has went from being like, hey, we have a search engine, to be like, hey, we're working directly with the Chinese government to advocate censorship, and also we give information to the CIA and the NSA. And you're like,
What was your take on the whole ML fairness thing when that happened?
which was that?
That was a couple weeks ago with Google.
I did not pick it up.
It was the big Project Veritas.
Oh, I didn't see any of that. Machine learning fairness.
Yep.
I didn't see any of this. I missed this one. What?
Well, Google and YouTube pulled all the videos talking about it.
Oh, that's not great.
That's when BitChute got a huge BitChute got like a big subscriber bump because the only places you could get the videos talking about it were on BitChute.
Weird, man. That is like it. I mean, since I've not watched anything about this, my opinion is obviously as informed as nothing. But the whole shtick here, where it's like, if you don't want to seem like you're doing some wild, suspicious shit, don't do wild, suspicious shit, Google.
Right. Yeah, if you didn't see that stuff, we'll bounce over that.
Sure. No, I missed that completely.
Yeah, it's vaguely interesting. There's a kind of a documentary.
Okay.
It's a bunch of hidden camera stuff, and then a bunch of internal documents
Gotcha.
that are in this Project Veritas video on BitChute on ML fairness.
I'll check it out.
But I mean, it's kind of funny because on the one hand, it's like ooh, super evil machine learning, but on the other hand, it's basically just any content they didn't like. Essentially, they came up with an ideological word cloud.
Yep.
And it was that these words are icky, and these words are words that we want to promote. And then they started ranking search results and YouTube videos where they would, if you had a channel that was on the icky word list, your videos wouldn't get demonetized or hidden or anything. They would just never be recommended to anyone. They would never show up as you might also want to watch.
Gotcha.
But because that whole feed is people's predominant way of using it, it was effectively the same as blacklisting that stuff.
Sure.
But it wasn't blacklisting it per se. So all those channels have had to adapt, where you basically, if you watch one of those channels, they do a shout out at the beginning and the end, and they say, hey, our videos don't get recommended anymore. So, email these to your friends or post them on your, social media or whatever.
A couple bigger history channels both got nailed recently with that.
Okay.
And they're
which
just
one?
I would have to look. I'll shoot you a couple links after the show. I have to look on Twitter. One of our listeners was talking to me about it.
Okay.
But it was like they're just like, and they're like super chill. Like they don't talk about political anything. They're just like history dorks. So that's like watching Google do like their wild like sweeps of what is okay and what is not on their platform is interesting, and also, like, once again, kind of funny, mostly because, like, the people who get nailed in the sweeps are not always, you know what I mean? There's always people who are, like, not intended targets who get nailed, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, so there are people who are like, LGBT people who do videos, stuff like, like, or like, just people who make like weapons videos, like old, like ancient weapons videos, or something, some stuff like like stuff you wouldn't expect to get nailed in sweeps like this, just get hit with like huge demonetizing like stings, or not stings, but like waves of demonetizing and waves of like, hey, my videos don't show up in search anymore. Hey, no more related videos. Where it's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's like whenever I say, because like I obviously I use YouTube like mostly for the show. You know what I mean? So it's like most of my YouTube recommendations are either just complete lunatics talking about like moon bases and shit, or their music and movies and stuff like that. So I don't really, I intentionally do not watch anything political on YouTube, mostly because I don't want to.
Yeah, it ghettoizes is really quick
It
both
does.
ways.
Sure, certainly.
They apparently, I don't think I didn't watch any channels that got banned, but
Yeah,
apparently they banned and demonetized a bunch of anti-war related channels as well.
Jesus fucking Christ, man.
This is a current trend. There's actually some stuff that came out last weekend. The anti-war movement is being labeled a radical right-wing movement.
That's super weird.
Yeah, so there were a series of stories and talking points last week that the lady from Hawaii,
Tulsi Gabbard.
yeah,
Yeah.
she is currently being exposed for actually being a radical right-wing
She's
uh
super progressive.
borderline, yeah,
Yeah.
she's being uncloseted for her radical right-wing views of non-interventionism.
Lord.
And anyway, that follows the ML, part of the ML fairness thing was that there were a whole bunch of groups who got ML fairness, censored.
Nailed.
But the anti-war left, which apparently the left doesn't. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, they were one of the groups that got hit, and so like you were saying, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, the specific little like, not you, not you, not you, not you.
But you, yeah. No, I know, I mean, like, I don't know a lot of, like, there's obviously, like, so when we talk about left and right in the US, we usually talk about like Democrats, Republicans. I'd say like I interact with enough weirdos online that I've adapted enough that I can, like, when I say left, I usually mean like farther left than Democrats, who are, anyway. But the I know a lot of people who are like DSA kind of lefties who are loudly anti-war, like, especially, like, I mean, they're anti-war in general, it seems. So it's kind of wild. Like, it's like, I remember when we were politically active locally, when Obama got elected and all the progressives were suddenly not anti-war anymore, or like not really upset about him not closing Gitmo or anything like that, So, but there are obviously, like, market anarchists, like left-wing market anarchists, stuff like that, who are vastly anti-war, and there's DSA people I've talked to and engaged with who are vastly anti-war, and it's I mean, not to sound too tinfoily, I guess, but like Google is Google, and they are. It's not like they're not tied into the warfare welfare state, like they're in with the like with Raytheon and the other fellas. So I don't know, man.
It's a possible way that some of these unprofitable companies are continuing to exist as well.
Oh, certainly. I mean,
But,
like,
yeah.
Google, not great, not a great place.
Gabbert is suing Google for like $50 million over some. They pulled or hid all of her advertising right after the debates off the.
Oh God.
I don't understand how it works, but she's suing them for like $50 million for purposefully doing it. And
that's wild.
Of course, it's because of her anti-war stance. There's no
I
no other reason. She's a lefty. She says everything everyone else says until it comes to anti-war stuff.
Right. That's fucking nuts.
That
I'm very glad that she is an anti-war person, but I really, I mean, obviously, I don't trust her stances on not going to war with people domestically.
Right.
So,
did you guys see that Facebook got nailed for a $5 billion fine over their privacy issues?
Oh,
stealing privacy. The FCC hit them, I think, today or yesterday for a $5 billion fine, and they're making Facebook follow some new privacy guidelines.
Oh God.
That's somewhat ironic.
Yeah. That's given the FCC is involved.
Well, that's one of the. So check this out. You're on the podcasting scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what percentage of your content is delivered over your podcast through like the Play Store and iTunes versus YouTube, for example?
YouTube is actually a pretty relatively low thing, like a low percentage of our stuff. Like we don't deliver the podcast through YouTube. Our Play Store, I think it's like last time I saw anything about it, it was like 20 or 30% of our stuff, but most of it comes from iTunes.
Okay.
So,
but this is just in audio format, right?
Yeah, this is just audio. Yeah, we're not.
So you're delivering most of your content to most of your audience outside of platforms, really?
I mean iTunes, but yeah. I mean
iTunes, but like
iTunes.
the degree of oversight on iTunes content is less than that over stuff like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube.
Definitely. Yes.
So,
I am less worried about getting popped on iTunes for something I've said on the show than I am about getting nailed on Google or Twitter. Like it's just like it is wild. We've seen other people in like different sides of the podcast scene get nailed on Twitter for upsetting politicians.
what's an example?
Trying to think. One of the smaller lefty podcasts. I'm trying to remember which one. It's one of the lefty. Like I'll think about it. But it's just like there is this thing on Twitter kind of where it's like a if you harass a blue check or if you make a blue check feel bad, there's a pretty large chance that your account's gonna get nailed. So much to the point where people just outright make fun of people who are verified now. Like it's like it's becoming a non-status symbol, which is kind of nice. But I'd have to think. I'm sorry, it's just one of these things where I was not prepared for that one. I'm not prepared for most things. But the whole shtick with like our content, the primary concern I always have is more IP law related than censorship related. Because like our show, even our politics show, like it's not that bad. It's mostly just us making fun of cops and people who like them. It's not like a huge deal. But I am, it's something I have noticed, I guess, is that the social media presence, the interaction, not from like non-state actors, just from like ideological normal humans, just from like regular jerk offs on the web, it is a very Planet of Cops situation. It's like everyone is trying to report if you are engaged in like open ideology nonsense on Twitter, your account's getting banned at some point,
Why is that like a new thing? And
nope.
Is that a new thing that you're seeing, or is it escalating? And why do you suppose that is?
It is not new. It is continually escalating. But I have a kind of a half-ass theory. It's not like it's not based on any kind of science, and that is like a lot of people get involved with an ideology, whatever it is. This is like right, left wing. I've seen both sides go fucking nuts over it. But they become convinced that they're the only people capable of doing good in the world. And anything they do has become like part of their holy crusade to fucking smite the other team who's bad. And that includes being a fucking lunatic on social media. And there was an article by a guy who has since recused himself from social media completely, called Planet of Cops, by Freddie DeBoer. It is worth a read, and it is accurate to this day. It's like a 4-year-old article. It is like he was like a DSA kind of aligned lefty, and he saw it, and it was just like, yeah, this is what happens when snitch culture gets out of control.
Is that like? Do you think that? I mean, when we were growing up, let's say, being a snitch was like not considered a good thing.
No.
Is that true of people like, younger people today?
I think it is true unless they're on social media. Because on social media, it's real. There's no social cost behind just dogpiling on a stranger.
Right.
So there's no one's gonna like. There's no reason to stop. Not do to cease doing the thing that's currently giving you dopamine.
Yeah, and then the anonymity of it,
Yeah,
escalates it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of anonymity. Like I love it. Keep an anonymity around all the time forever. But boy, howdy, does it make communication wild on the internet.
Yeah, well, it's like pulling the curtain back a little bit.
It is. You remember there was an attempt a couple years ago to kind of remember when we were thousands of years ago when we were first on the internet, it was like, hey, let's go to like you and I were on the same computer forum.
Yes, we were.
Millions of years ago. We were on the same hardware discussion forum. But that was the thing. It was like you would be on these forums and like they would self-contain these communities. And there's not a whole, like, the forums still exist, but there's like, I'd say most people aren't self-federating anymore. They're not excluding, or they're not being isolationists enough, I guess is the best way to put it. With social media, it's like you see everybody, even the people you fucking hate. And boy, howdy, does that make some people like uncontrollably mad. Like, I'm trying to think.
So
like,
do you see the?
Go ahead.
Do you see this the snitching deal?
Oh yeah.
Do you see that leading into more calls for state intervention? If the
yes,
if the big companies can't take control of it, then we need. You got Elizabeth Warren wants to break up Apple and Google and Facebook and all these and some of them she calls out just to have nationalize them.
Cool. Yeah, no, I absolutely do.
And you get that from both sides. It's not just the left. It's you got.
Yeah.
I see the right does it just as much. Trump needs to get in there and nationalize these things.
Nationalize this thing. I don't like. Yeah, no, they are. There's Jeff Tucker has been on it real hard recently about like the current right, like it's the current right wingers, the conservatives or whatever. They don't give a shit about markets. They don't give a shit about freedom. It is now just wielding control to fight whatever ideological enemies they have. And it is the same thing the Democrats did. It's the same thing they're going to do for the next 4 years. It is disgusting. I have something Twitter has done to me that is like existing on Twitter. I will say this: it has definitely driven the idea, like the no friends on the right thing is real clear to me on a routine basis, because I'm just like, y'all love cops, y'all hate free markets, and y'all are asking for the government to regulate social media on a super routine basis. Go fuck yourselves.
Yeah,
just
we've seen. Well, Josh and I have seen a lot of the same thing, and it's been fun because there's only like, take for example the Lou Rockwell writers,
right?
Of the Lou Rockwell writers, there's only like 3 of them who haven't gone total orange man.
Sorry. Yeah. The sorry.
So like Robert Wenzel is one of them.
Yeah.
And then a couple others. Stefan Kinsella is one,
good.
and then like Tucker,
Tucker,
Jeff
man.
Tucker.
Yeah.
But most of the other ones, if you go on a site that was super libertarian 5 or 6 years ago, it's like, something has to be done at the border and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, good. That's great.
But I mean, your observation is verified for sure.
It's not fun. No, I mean, like I've seen it. I don't know if you guys pay attention to how Molyneux uses Twitter, but it's like your weird racist uncle. It's just like, oh God, calm down, bud. But like,
how does he get away with it?
You'd be surprised how many people how much shit you can say on Twitter and get away with if you have a blue check.
Oh, is he a blue check?
He's a blue check, yeah. It is a wild time. I'm trying to think. There's I have a once again loosely based theory just based on observation that is grifters go where the money is. And Molyneux and the rest of the people who and and that's a little uncharitable. I understand maybe people who wrote for Lou Rockwell have evolved their views and become cop lovers. It happens. A
lot of them are Trump lovers.
Oh, well, that's pretty much a guaranteed Blue Lives Matter situation there. Unfortunate. But the man, not a fan. The whole
I can tell if we need to have our next one on government, we need to have you on to talk about cops.
Just yelling about the police. I will say this, like, once again, who was it? Man, I will say, rest in peace, Will Grigg. We all miss you frequently. Every time I see like a Lou Rockwell writer go like full cop mode, I'm just like, if Will Grigg were here, he would make fun of you. So I will do it in his place.
Yeah. Well, and that that fits in.
Yeah.
That's right along the same lines of the regulate the social media folks.
Oh yeah, totally.
And it's funny because it's in stereo. It's coming from the left and the right at the same time.
It sucks. Yeah, it is a thing when people love authority and they show it. Like, social media does one thing very well, and it lets people show you who they are. Like, and like it makes like it when people call for like, we gotta regulate, they're banning conservatives, and I'm just like, they're banning everybody. It turns out they're shitty at their jobs, and also, I mean, like, I'm sure like there's some right-wing voices that are getting silenced at an arbitrarily higher amount than left-wing voices on certain websites. Sure, but oh, buddy, involving the state is not going to make that better.
Right. Yeah, that's one area where maybe the left-right thing doesn't work. If you instead cut it by supporting what's within the bounds of permitted pro-state speech,
right?
Because I don't know. I don't know that the people on the right say that they're getting a big hit, but I don't know if that's true or not. But
doubt it.
the collateral, certainly, all the other people who are being cleaned up at the same time, who are not associated with any of them, they're all people who have non-standard views about
Sure.
the state's role in society.
Definitely. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if you guys, since you're young chaps and all, remember back in the Clinton days, there was a deal where the left was squealing about having, I forget, equal time and whatever on the radio and all that good stuff. And like you had your Rush Limbaughs and stuff, because they wanted to force the FCC to give, if there's an hour of Rush Limbaugh, there has to be an hour of whatever insane liberal. And
Jesus.
I remember Rush and all the right wing guys back then, and just the overall thing was, well, if you liberals can't get your own stuff out there, it's because people don't want to hear it. You want to get the government involved. Ha ha ha! See, these people are commies. Yada yada. Fast forward 20 years, 18 years, whatever, and the right's doing the same thing.
Yeah,
the exact same thing. So it's like, if you're gonna give these people that power, you have to realize the next president's not going to be your friend, or after that, the next president's not going to be one of them's not going to be. They're going to use it against you, and it just boggles my mind that people are so stupid that they can flip that easily. Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
That's rough. Yeah, I was blissfully unaware of politics as a teenager, so I missed all of the Clinton stuff outside of jokes.
Yeah. That was the best part.
Yeah. But no,
still relevant today.
Hey, that's what it does. Turns out politicians are terrible humans no matter what. Yeah, no, it is wild to see people who are otherwise sane individuals demand that the government get involved with something. And it's just this is nothing good happens here. I mean, a lot of people are, I obviously I'm not a fan of presidents as a whole. I'm I could do without you. So switching over from Bush to Trump, because we were first when Dave and I were first active politically locally. It was during the Bush presidency, during the initiation of Forever War, and then Obama happened, and then it was 8 more years of Forever War, and now we're still in Forever War with Trump. So it's shocking how little the difference is and how much the state has just kept expanding under all these dudes.
And how different people think it is.
Yeah, it's very different now than it was last time. It's not. It's the same. It sucks. It's not great. Subpar. I'm against it.
One of the ironies of the current climate with media platforms, that Josh and I have observed, is that it appears right now that the least regulated platform is FCC radio waves.
Yeah. Which that's wild. That's super wild.
Could you have imagined that? Could you have imagined anyone projecting that back in the late 90s with the internet?
No. I couldn't have imagined it when I worked at the local radio station. Oh my God. No, that is, God.
Yeah, there are words wild. You can't say on the FCC airwaves.
Yeah.
But your freedom to explore ideas and interact with your audience, like if you have a call-in show or something like that,
right,
is way broader than any Silicon Valley media platform that I'm aware of.
Sure. So that may be because of the perceived decrease in relevance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we've wondered if that's a really good point. And we've also wondered, though, if part of the protection, per se, there on the radio is because we could scream, censorship, censorship. And the government, no matter how much they really do want to silence people, they don't want to be perceived that way. Whereas with the social media stuff, and just say, well, that's Twitter. What do you want us to do?
Right. Are you
Because
asking us
we
to get
talk bad
involved?
about right, exactly.
Cool.
Because the only time that we've ever gotten word about anything was during the Mike Anderson days, and we got a little note from the Justice Department to tone it down a little, please. But that was it.
I mean, that's
they
classic.
didn't demand.
Yeah. Hey, please stop making the cops feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
God.
there was no demands, and all that did was fortify us to ramp it up a few more notches.
Yeah. Like, how can we make this much cooler?
Exactly.
That's because we didn't understand what
actually get
warrant was.
Oh, my
that's
God.
true.
God. Yeah.
So, could you guys talk a little about, so as market guys, we like to talk about, well, hey, if you don't like it, start your own platform. Why don't libertarians start a Twitter or their own Facebook? So, could you discuss that a little bit about what really would go into that? Because I'm sure we've all read that 1,000 times. Well, if you really want a free market, uncensored, then start your own. But
Yeah,
how
if
is
you don't
that
like
possible?
it, leave.
Yeah.
It is interesting. And like, as much as I don't like gab.ai, because like they are home to a lot of wild shit. They definitely it is an interesting thing in that, like, if all of the available hosting services and DNS providers and whatever necessary for your social media site or whatever don't want to do business with you, and we're not like obviously, let's not pretend we're in a free market right now. We are not. Nowhere on this planet has a legal free market, et cetera, et cetera. There's always regulation. There's always someone sticking hands in pockets. So as it stands now, the go make your own is like if you're gonna roll a server out in your house and host it for your friends, because that's kind of the extent of it. Like, there are people who are working on stuff like Mastodon. Mastodon has like an open Twitter clone, and you can roll your own server of it. You can deploy it yourself and manage it yourself, and you could even have it interact with other Twitter or other Mastodon services. And that immediately started federating, like, I want to say federating in like the sense that like small factions formed, small countries formed on Mastodon quickly. And if someone perceived your Mastodon server to have people who had thoughts they didn't like, they would block it from their entire server and stuff like that, that happens. That's fine. It's just a matter of like, it's not gonna look like if there is if we do have a truly freed market version of this kind of stuff, it will not look like Twitter. It will not look like Facebook. It will be much smaller, and it will be. I think it'll actually kind of, if it does happen, fingers crossed. But who knows? It's a wild time. It'll go back to being more like old forums used to be, where it's just like, yeah, here's like 30 people on this one forum who talk to each other. And that's like, that cuts communication worldwide a little bit, but it also means people can say and do what they want. So I think those are the trade-offs you're going to encounter, I believe. Just from like, go ahead.
Yeah, the forum thing. I've been thinking about that a lot because I'm still a member of a number of forums that are for like specific hobbies and things like that.
Right.
And professional ones, like I run some software programs that are complicated, and so you have a users forum.
Definitely.
And they were great. And a friend of mine was complaining about censorship on Reddit a few weeks ago, and I was like, well, okay, why don't these folks start their own forum?
Yeah.
You can buy hosting; it's not expensive to do.
Yep.
And all the software is open source and stuff, and those forums can support 100,000 people on them at a time.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting point.
And like, I think that it's kind of indicative of like obviously I've never rolled a forum server. I've never rolled out a Mastodon server of my own. So I don't know exactly how much you need for it. But I think like the surviving niche forums that exist are kind of a good like template of like, this could be the thing. Cause like, I mean, you look at like, if you are on a public enough forum, you are under scrutiny immediately by people who are effectively social cops. They're discussing a thing I don't like. They shouldn't be allowed to. Boom. Other people might contact this and they may be infected by these ideas I don't like. Whatever they are. They'll advocate for whatever company hosting you is to shut that off. It happens a lot.
Yeah, that's a level that it didn't used to go to back when we were
in
our internet heyday.
Man, I would almost take early DSL speeds for more of that, but
yeah, because I mean, you could run an AWS, you could run an Amazon server and put a forum on there. But then if somebody doesn't like it, they could go to Amazon. And so then you could run your own server out of your house, but then if they don't like it, they could go to your internet service provider. But each one of those steps increases the barrier to censorship.
It does, and that is a good thing. But it's a matter of people. I think there are a lot of people who just have the time and willingness to do that to their ideological enemies now.
Is that because they don't need a job, or what? Where is that time coming from?
I have no idea, man. It is honestly wild. Like I don't know. Like there is, no matter how much I dislike certain people or certain ideologies or whatever, I try to spend as little time as possible thinking about them, because it's like I'm only for the moment unless we have like some kind of wild tech expansion. I'm here for a limited amount of time, and I'm only here once. So why am I going to waste my time obsessing over what like people who are my perceived enemies do, when all that does is make my body like mainline cortisol?
But other people are wrong.
People are wrong. Yeah. Man, I was 20 on the internet at some point too, and I was real mad that people were incorrect somewhere, but I gave that up. Gave up the lifestyle. I don't know, man. I do think that it kind of like that, like the expansion of people who are able and willing to do that is kind of mirrored to the Planet of Cops thing. And that is that people are they see everything they do is good, and anything the perceived enemy does is bad, and we gotta strike them at all times. It's always a war, something, and it's just like, there are people like go fight a cop, go spread like anti-government literature or something, go do something useful, go talk about well, whatever. I don't know. I'm not gonna tell them what to do. I'm not their dads. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
People. What are you gonna do about them?
No, yeah, I mean, backing away from that stuff is a good way to go. There's another question about, is any of the stuff that people are worrying about even real? And like with a 24-hour news cycle, I don't think any of us are part of the 24-hour news cycle. So
nope, I refuse.
Three-way fist bump on that one.
Good job, everybody.
But, like the 24-hour news cycle it tells you every day that the most important thing that you could be aware of is happening right now. Yeah. And it also tells you that tomorrow that thing won't exist anymore. At
all.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's legit. That's I have, since not watching any news, like my mindset has improved drastically. Like I'm never like, you know what I mean? Like it's like we do a news show once a week for the damn woods, and like it's Oz and I both don't watch the news until we do that, and like both of us are just mad for 2 hours straight. Like that's all it is. You're just like here we go. Fucking time to lean in and get mad about something for little to no reason. And I think that's definitely related to it. Like the 24-hour news cycle was not a good thing. It is, I would say, in fact, a bad thing.
I think its very existence undermines. On the one hand, they're telling you it's the most important thing you could spend your time on, and on the other hand, they're telling you it has no staying power whatsoever, and you must act immediately because tomorrow's too late. And so it's its own. It's like the picture of the snake eating itself.
Yeah, the Ouroboros. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's legit. That is it. But that is like if people keep adding new parts of the snake or something. It's rough.
Yeah.
But it's that is legitimately a thing. As far as like I said, I am hopeful that we will see a return to like further like privatized internet stuff or at least like an expanse of private forums that are, hey, if you want to go talk about awful shit with your friends, fine, have fun. Leave me out of it. I don't want to talk to you. That's okay. And that's great. That's part of one of the nice things about the internet where you're like, I don't want to talk to these people. You don't have to. And like what the wild thing is with social media, with like Twitter, that rule is still there. You don't have to engage with anybody, but people just choose to constantly. They're just like, oh, I see someone over there and I don't like their opinion. I had better tell them about it immediately. And you're like, why? Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar to mentioning gasoline and a wood burning stove in the same sentence.
Oh God.
And watching the phone lines light up.
Wow.
That's the easiest way to fill the phone board, by the way.
I am sure.
Yeah.
By the way, do not put gasoline in your wood burning stove.
Who knew?
We found out there. People were listening though. We figured that out.
That's great. So when I was working at KYSC before they got this is early on, the entire station. There's one morning where everyone went completely insane and the phones were ringing because people got the wrong station. They thought it was our station that said it. But like like the local two jokers, Jerry and Glenner, shout out to the past. They had some April Fool's joke. It was April 1st, and they were like, oh, there could be. It was like it was dihydrogen monoxide, and it could be in the air, and people were fucking losing their minds. And you're just like, it wasn't us. We didn't do it. All of our DJs are in Texas. Anyway, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
The radio audience is a wild one sometimes.
Radio's great.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the diverse culture of Fairbanks. A highly educated, diverse culture.
Yeah, the folks in the audience, fantastic.
Oh man. I bet they have a lot of well-formed and loud opinions.
Oh, that brings up something that might be fun to talk about. Jake, what do you think about just give me your take. So this little incident that we had on the radio this time, we were talking about great ways to start fires.
Yeah.
And we're talking about burning tires, a little gasoline works good, oil, basically just trying to overly exaggerate our opinion on wood burning, banning wood burning. We'll burn whatever we want.
Right.
So we immediately got all these phone calls of you're responsible, and if someone burns their house down, it's your fault. No, what is your take on the host, of a website or a blog, something like this, or a radio host? What is their social responsibility for someone doing something idiotic because they heard someone say?
It's ridiculous to assume. I have a lot of thoughts. Actually, I have like one pretty concentric thought on it. It's just that if you want the host of a website to be responsible, either the host of a website or the personality on a website to be responsible for what someone dumb does because of a joke, I have bad news. It's gonna be a lot of problems forever now. Because people like how many people follow a YouTube there's I guess there's two lanes on this, right? There's people who follow like a how-to for something, say like making your laptop portable with a hole saw or something like that. And then they fuck up somewhere and they're like, oh no, my laptop's portable, but it doesn't work now. And you're like, well, you shouldn't have used the hole saw, obviously. But that's whatever. Or you find people who are like, or content providers who are maliciously like giving you bad information. I don't know. I don't know who would do that. I don't know who would suggest that you make a laptop portable with a hole saw, but someone would.
Probably never happened.
It's never happened. No one has ever done it. Someone has probably. I definitely printed out copies of that and left them around work a couple times with the other guy involved in the event. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm looking for it. We'll link it in the video description. We had to.
it's a classic.
Yeah. Anyway, some people didn't understand that it was a joke.
Yeah. The portability was enhanced. But no, so like the idea that like there's people spreading. So say someone has like a malicious video where they're spreading the wrong information. I don't know what kind, like that is obviously socially irresponsible. What kind of legal responsibility they have is probably, I have no idea, honestly. Like I would say if you can conceivably prove that, with this person's video that you followed their steps and then your house is suddenly on fire because you put gasoline in a wood stove or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but since we do have the internet, it's pretty easy. If you read one thing, you can Google it or search it and see 25 million other examples of the same thing, whether it's a good idea or not.
100%.
I mean, look, didn't Reagan get away with saying the bombers are in the air? And of course, the Russians freaked out a little bit, but that was a pretty good joke.
That's a good gag.
I don't think he got impeached over it.
No, he did not. I mean, he also called ketchup a vegetable, so who knows?
Yeah.
He's a wild guy. This is why we don't elect actors. Oh, wait, we do. But yeah, no, the whole, I think there is a lot of personal responsibility that you have as a human to like always get a second opinion is not just for doctors.
Right.
Like, it's for everything. If you don't know how to do something, get a couple sources and figure it out. And maybe, hey, if you find out a guy is giving you malicious ideas and he's just like, what goes best in car tires is hydrogen or something or some such nonsense. You're like, all right, chief, calm down. Report him to his host, report him to your whatever, or don't. Do what you want. This is America. I don't care. But yeah, there's a social responsibility versus legal responsibility. Socially irresponsible. I'm socially irresponsible all the time. I make dumb jokes on my show constantly. So I don't really know. But legally responsible, there's an amount of you have to be an adult.
Right.
So who knows? The real world implication of all that, I guess, is we will see what happens when the government decides to start charging people for following dumb YouTube videos. I mean,
yeah.
If you look
I think that's a good you have to be an adult.
You need to be an adult.
That sums up most of the problems of our age.
Yeah. Like just be a grown up. It's fine. It's okay. Don't listen to strangers from the internet about everything except us, obviously.
Well,
yeah.
If there's obviously,
yeah,
the elders of the internet.
The elders of the internet. Right at Big Ben. I just watched that this week.
It's a classic.
It is. Anyway. Yeah, no, it is a wild time. So the last thing we have here is like, as far as like alternative platforms go, as something that just occurred to me. It's like BitChute stuff, whatever. Those last as long as like their hosts and providers can withstand the social pressure from outside, you know? So in the current
they don't
market
exist
setup,
in a vacuum.
no, none of these things do.
Mhm.
If we could find some kind of vacuum to put social media in, I'd be much happier.
Send it to space.
Send it to space immediately.
Well, cool. Thanks for coming on and
No worries.
and giving us your thoughts.
Yeah.
That's
we
great.
have a lot of opinions on it, but we interact with it differently than you do, a different
Yeah.
audience. So it's really cool just to hear you,
Sure.
kind of spew some stuff out there, and we play with the ideas.
Yeah. No worries. Thanks for having me on, fellas. It was fun.
You want to give another shout for your show and where people can find more Jake McQueen and the Damn Woods?
It's true. That is legally tied to my name. It's wild. The damwoods.com, at the damwoods on Twitter, Facebook, everything. All of our branding is tied to that. YouTube. Go buy a shirt, teespring.com. I'm wearing one right now. We have a number of shirts, various designs. Actually, two of our biggest designs are fan designs of all things. We have fans who make stuff. It's wild. But yeah, go buy a shirt, go listen to the show. If you like it, let us know, or get at us on Twitter if you want us to talk about a show or music or whatever. That's what we do. And mostly we just mind your own business. That's my last thing. Everyone out there, do more minding your own business. I want to see an increase of that in reality.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very good takeaway.
Well, thanks for joining us for the second episode of our technology series. Be sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff. I guess it's down here. It's this side.
Press all the required buttons.
Yeah, we're getting a little subscriber bump, and leave a comment. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And we will join you guys next Thursday for the next episode of one of the series that we're working on right now. Catch you all later.
Take it easy.
Bye.